And I think that curiosity is the number one key for success is like
Mm.
you actually wanting to be curious. Because if money's the only reason you do something, the first sign of trouble, first sign of weakness, you're going to quit. Trading was like the biggest personal development journey I ever embarked on. But trading shows you like your true mirror, like your relationship to money and like those instincts that come up of wanting to just like risk it all, the gamble. The discipline is when your identity is so strong that you stop negotiating with your day-to-day feelings. Yeah, we always start with integrity, which is doing what you said you're gonna do and do it when you said you're gonna do it, right? Like keeping your word, like really honoring your word, or don't say it.
Welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education. I'm excited to be joined today on the podcast by Anmol Singh. So, Anmol, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. I love it when a couple busy guys like us can actually coordinate getting together. So, I appreciate you taking time. I want to give everybody a little bit of your background. We're going to get into a lot of it, but you're a trader, investor, author of Prepping for Success, and you actually had a new book come out, Mastering the Trader Within, which is great. I think we're going to kind of get into some mindset as well as trading today. But for those of you that don't know him, you probably maybe you have seen him featured because he's been featured in Business Insider, Forbes, International Business Times. He's the founder of Live Traders, author, speaker. Has got a powerful mastermind. We're going to get into some of those things today, but we're glad to have you here. So thank you so much for being here. Maybe you could kind of fill in the blanks a little bit for me and just give me a little bit about what took you down this path of trading specifically.
Yeah, definitely. I was, 18 years old in my dorm room, typical introvert, shy kid on Xbox all the time. So I was like, okay, what can I do from home that I don't have to talk to people? I could be on my computer and get it done. So I think just started off 18 and, looking for internships like a lot of people. And I saw all my friends got, great jobs, great internships. I think I was one of the only ones that just wasn't able to figure it out or get an internship. So I had a whole year to figure this out. And I was in my dorm room researching, reading everything I could get my hands on, and losing money. I lost money my whole first year of trying to do this until I joined a prop firm and I started working for the company, trading their money. And they would take a percentage of everything I make. So I kind of just worked my way in the company eventually. And then that's how I got into coaching with their newer trading hires that they would bring in. I'd coach him, train him, off they go, next person. So I was brought on as a coach for the new hire. So that's what got me into trading. But I always was fascinated, even as a kid, like why do stocks move up? Why do they go down? Who decides those prices? Like how does that even function? I think the curiosity just kept me going and make me want to read everything on the subject.
That's awesome. I have known a lot of traders in my life, and when I say that, for those of you listening, you might be part-time, full-time, whatever it is when it comes to investing your money, but at the end of the day, it does take a mindset to get over that. And like you said, you lost a lot of money along the way, which is really the path, right? The riddle path for most investors. What kept you in there? Like what made you decide? Like, had you made the decision you were going to be an investor, and so you just stuck through the times where you're losing money and having trouble, or do you feel like it just was kind of in your DNA? Like, what made you decide to stick through all those kind of ups and downs of learning to trade?
Yeah, it definitely was not in the DNA. Growing up, I was horrible at math or anything to do with numbers. So I was like,
Okay.
okay, the trading was not even in my radar of things that I could ever do or be good at. But I think it's like the more I just learned, the more I read about it, I'm like, okay, what's next? What about this? How does this function? And I think that curiosity is the number one key for success is like
Mm.
you actually wanting to be curious. Because if money's the only reason you do something, the first sign of trouble, first sign of weakness, you're going to quit, right? But whether you just genuinely enjoy learning about it, like for people, reading or researching would seem like work. For me, I was just like fascinated. I would be up late at night, like reading about it. So I think that was the number one foundation for that. But I think the more I started to do it, and the more I saw like glimmers of hope, even in bad trades, even in days where things were not working, even when I was losing money, I saw okay, there's some things working. The strategy
Mm.
is actually really good. I can see the setups. I can see the trades working as they should. It's just me. Like I'm not able to hold on. I sell it too soon. I'm getting out of my losers quickly. I'm not letting them play out. So I was like, okay, so that's more of a me issue than a trading issue. Because the
Yeah.
strategy on paper is working. I'm just not able to execute on it. So I think looking at data like that and looking at the spreadsheet and saying, wow, if you just held it to your target, you would have made X amount of money whereas you got out of the stock too soon, so that's why you didn't make money. Showed me that okay, this thing works. It's just I have to be strong enough for myself to be able to do this. And I think that what it really helped is I started early on when I was 18 years old. So there was
Yeah.
not, even though I lost money, it was not a lot I could lose, right? I think that was a benefit, that the learning curve happened with a very low risk level. So I learned and made mistakes with a small amount of account, and eventually kind of worked my way to grow that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I hear that same thing from successful people all the time, and
Mm.
individuals, especially with your success. It's like you know if you put in the work, you know if you get enough experiences, and most people just don't do it. That's why they don't get through it, right? Is they don't continue to work at it. But you said something I really love, which is when you do something you're curious at and you enjoy, and most people are not curious about the stuff they do on a day to day, even when it comes to investing. But if you can find that area, that niche, that thing that you're curious about, but you also enjoy, that does help you get through pushing through because it's only success on the other side of pushing it through. And so it's interesting that you did that. I'm curious, and this maybe will help me to understand your comment about getting more into the coaching side. Um, it really is a mindset, right? You talk a lot about this mindset, the mindset of an investor. And so I'm curious, did you pick that up as you went along? And what bridge did you make kind of from being an investor and investing money to the coaching side or to working with individuals that involved obviously a lot more than just showing them how to invest their money?
Yeah, I mean, trading was like the biggest personal development journey I ever embarked on.
Yeah.
Like, it showed me so much about myself that I didn't even know that I had issues with, right? Like, because you're like, okay, I figured it out, whatever. But trading shows you like your true mirror, like your relationship to money, and like those instincts that come up of wanting to just like risk it all, the gamble, right? Try to make it all back, or how did that stock do that to me? I'm gonna get it all back on the next one. Like, you start
Yeah.
noticing all these voices that without trading, there's very few businesses that you can truly see yourself face to face. Because let's say you make a commitment. I'm like, okay, from tomorrow onwards, I'm going to follow my trading system completely. I'm not going to deviate from it. And then you do it again, and you're like, why did I just do that? I couldn't
Yeah.
keep a simple commitment with myself. Or if I say, okay, if a stock goes to this exit point, I'm going to take a small loss and I'm going to walk away. And I'm like, why am I still holding? I thought I'm going to get out. Where's the integrity here? There's a disconnect. So you learn so much about yourself, that I think that's what made me a good coach, is because I went through that journey myself and overcame it. Right. And then I think a good coach also needs to kind of look through the filters of people, because in people try to appear the best versions of themselves. So even if you're coaching traders, we all have ego. Newer traders still have ego, even though I was an experienced trader
Yeah.
at the company. They'll still have their ego. No, I got this. It's just a market, or HFTs did this. All those just news came out, all deviating responsibility from their own decisions. And I think entrepreneurs do that as well. And I think a good coach can see right through it, but not be blunt just to say it, but to, okay, what structures can be put in place to ensure this doesn't happen again? And what can we automate in our trading software that exits it for you at that point? Like, try to come up with solutions. And I
Mm.
think that's what a good coach would really do. And we'll touch upon not just the trading strategies, but their psychology, and to notice, okay, your psychology was affected, but why is it affected? Was it a conversation you had early in the morning with your wife? Like, what was your morning routine like? What time did you go to bed? Like, all these things matter when it comes to trading, because it's a peak performance sport. We're competing with traders from all over the world. We're competing
Yeah.
with traders from Goldman Sachs, big hedge funds. And as a retail trader, like, you need to be on your A game, because we don't have the same advantages and tools that they do.
Yeah, it's you talk about a personal development journey. I think that's huge, and I think that emotional intelligence, like you said, you made a couple points I want to point out for our audience, and that is, having that awareness yourself is important. A lot of times you can't get that, and yet from a third party you can get that, right? So a coach, that's one of the advantages of having a coach, is they can identify something that you continue to cycle back through that you don't understand why. But it does lead to this topic that I think I've heard many times over the years with a lot of the guys that have spoken for me and worked with me. It's this emotional control, and you talk about this a lot. You say, listen, emotional control, I guess. Why do you think this is one of those big missing ingredients? Because I think people think mindset is important, which it is, your mindset. But I kind of have seen just over the years, it's the emotion too. What's the difference, and why is emotional control such a big missing piece in your opinion when it comes to trading?
Because I think emotional control is a muscle. It's a practice that you have to work at. Like, nobody very few people, I would say, would be born with just the ability to do everything they said they're going to do.
Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, I ask people all the time, and they're ex CEOs and everything, and they're like, okay, I'm a person of integrity. And I'm like, okay, when's the last time somebody called you and you said, hey, I'm just in the middle of something, let me call you back? And you never did. Or an email that you're supposed to respond to is still sitting in your drafts or your inbox. You still haven't gotten to it yet. Or you run into an old friend at a shopping mall or an airport. You're like, so good to see you. We should totally catch up. When you know you have no intentions of ever catching up with them.
Right.
Like all these lack of integrity that you notice that it stems from other areas of our life too. And we all have that, is to A, realize it, right? And B, don't apologize for it. Because if you apologize, I'm not going to do it again, you will absolutely do it again. So what are we putting in place in terms of systems to ensure that doesn't happen again, right? So an example of that would be like, I know workout's really important. You got to work out, but I hate it. I don't like it. It doesn't
Yeah.
do it for me like it does for other people. But there was a time in my life where all I just focused on was the money and the business, and I gained a lot of weight. And I was like, okay, I want to get back on gym on Monday. And then Monday came and I didn't do it. I was like, well, because it's the 28th of the month, I'll start from the first of the month, right? And first of the
That
month,
elusive Monday, or
yeah.
I'll start next week. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it just kept happening. I was like, okay, it's clearly not happening. And I'm not going to say, oh, I won't do it again, because clearly the path shows I keep doing it again. So what can I put in place to ensure that doesn't happen? And for me, that was, okay, I'm going to get a trainer. He's going to come at the same time, same week, same place, all the time. It's going to come to my house. And now if he's here, well, I'm going to work out. So I put things in place to get rid of the barrier of my own emotional state in that moment. And I think that is very crucial. That's discipline, right? Discipline is when your identity is so strong that you stop negotiating with your day-to-day feelings. And I think that is what traders need to do, and investors or any business owners, because trading releases the same hormones of dopamine and serotonin that you get when you have sex, when you gamble, when you do drugs. Now, as traders, we're trading every day. So if you don't control those spikes, you're going to make decisions of wanting to go all in, or that's the one stock that it's going to go. And you start deviating from that strategy that's proven to work, and you start trading from emotion. In poker, they call it, trading on tilt, right? Poker, people go on tilt all the time. They go all in and losing it when it was not a good hand. So knowing when to hold it, knowing when to fold it, I think a lot of that requires emotional discipline.
I like that bridge that you made as well. I think that where you said that the key to mastering that emotional control is discipline. And you talk about discipline being a foundation really for a trader, but wouldn't you say that's really a discipline is a foundation for life? So how do you, and that keeps you from negotiating all the things every single day, right? Discipline, is that something that you, with a lot of your traders and the individuals you work with, you start with because it leads to everything else?
Yeah, we always start with integrity, which is doing what you said you're going to do and do it when you said you're going to do it, right? Like keeping your word, like really honoring your word, or don't say it.
Yeah.
Like don't make empty promises, empty commitments. Like whatever you say, you got to do. And then comes the discipline on top of that. Okay, how do we make sure we keep in alignment with our word and with our integrity? And that applies universally across the board to your business, right? If your team says, I want this, video for this VSL or whatever by Monday, and then you don't send it to them, well, next time you ask them for something, they're going to be late too. So like, you have to lead by example. Is like your word is sacred, and you got to live by that. So my team knows if they tell me a task delivered by Wednesday, they're going to have it by Tuesday night. And then
Yeah.
they also know that I expect the same exact thing from them, right? So then the company culture builds according to that. So I think it all ties in together: integrity, your word, your honor, your discipline, your consistency. All right, because you could be disciplined, but can you be disciplined consistently all the way time when things get tough? So I think those are the main parameters for success:
I
integrity,
love that.
discipline, and
Yeah.
consistency.
I loved how you stacked that. I actually wrote that down as you were saying. So because I think people mix these things up a lot, just like they do confidence and self-worth and stuff, and they are very distinct. But integrity is actually the foundation you start with, because it's like you said, and I say all the time, it's like, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so you've got to be integritous. Then you stack in that discipline, the emotional control, the consistency, and I think by default you get more of that emotional mastery. So I love that you said that. Now, as a trader, and I've been around a lot of individuals, some of the biggest world class traders. You're a very, very successful guy when it comes to trading. I get this question a lot. It's like, boy, those guys seem very confident. Sometimes it's arrogant. There's kind of a distinction between that confidence and arrogance, right? How would you define that? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I think confidence is when you know who you are and your worth, and arrogance is when you try to show other people who you really are. So I think that's the main
I
difference.
love that.
you're comfortable with yourself, then you just let your actions, your words speak for them and let people infer from that whatever they might want to infer. But if you're trying to prove it, hey, look at me, look at I'm on the stage speaking, or look at me, like then you're starting to move into that arrogance level.
I love that distinction you made because I've always kind of felt that, look, I've been a sales and marketing guy my whole life, so confidence has kind of been sometimes I've looked at it as I've had that before I even had it. But what I'm learning more and more as I get older, and you made a really good distinction, and that is that I think confidence is an internal game. Most
Mm.
people are searching for it outside. That's why it comes across arrogance, like they're just projecting confidence they don't have. But when you do the things that you said, integrity, discipline, consistency, that really, I think, builds confidence, and I think in confidence is what you just said, it's the internal game. It's like when you feel good about what you do. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, when you know that you are a person of integrity, you follow through on your word, then that builds confidence. It's because the way the cycle works in our
Mm,
brain is our unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between our true intentions, right? It only sees words spoken, actions not taken, right? So if
mm,
you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, then your unconscious mind next time you try to set a goal is like, you're not going to do it. You keep saying things, you're not going to do it, and then that voice builds up, right? And that happens when you don't follow through on your word. When you live through that cycle of consistently following through your word, the next time you want to do something, you're like, yeah, I got this. I said it. Like I said it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Right. So then you start feeling that internal confidence and the cycle grows of that self-confidence. The self-confidence increases your self-esteem and the self-esteem increases how you show up in the world. But if you break that cycle of not following through on your word, then, people notice, right? Well, the world notices. And more importantly, you notice, right? You notice
yeah,
inside.
yeah,
You.
and that you're the one that's affecting, right? Your own confidence.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, so so many people ask me, they're like, George, you look, you do marketing, you bring on financial experts, you've got, health, wellness, all these things. And they almost always come back to mindset. So if you're listening to this and you haven't figured that out by now, your mindset and everything and your personal growth mindset really does lead to success. So let me shift gears for a minute. What made you decide to sort of go from this, successful trader, and coach and things you're doing to writing a book, authoring Prepping for Success? Why did you decide? And now your new book, Mastering the Trader Within, because I liked how those go together. It's like prepping for success and then mastering the trader within. Why did you decide to become an author?
Yeah, I mean, I originally wrote it for myself. Like, when I got into trading and I got into personal development and all of that, I spent a lot of money, like on coaches, mentors, attending seminars, retreats, all this stuff, like really working on myself. And then I sat down one day, I'm like, okay, I've done all this learning, but I'm not applying it. Like I know all this information, but it's not changing my life because I'm not doing anything with it. So I sat down and I wrote down, okay, what are the 10 things that I need to do in my own life to achieve success? So these were kind of notes to myself on here are the
Mm,
10 things that I've learned, which everybody agrees on, all my research shows. And if I just do these 10 things, I'm going to achieve the success. And then I went out and I just applied. I lived by my book, applied all the things, and my life improved. Finally started achieving new levels of success. And then that's when I was like, wow, okay, I can actually turn this into a book. I'll take all the notes to myself and I'll kind of get an editor and have it structured into like a book that other people can benefit from so that they don't have to spend the hundreds of millions of dollars to like get coaches, go to all these retreats and mastermind groups and all this
yeah.
stuff. And I could just distill it down. So that was my true motivation, was originally to help myself. But then I kind of wrote a book that I wish somebody gave me 20 years ago, would have made life so much easier.
I love it. That's so crazy because I've had several people tell me that this is the reason I started the Daily Mastermind is for me. I'm like, you know what, man? I need a daily ritual. I don't need to sell anything on it. I don't need to do that. I just need a consistent daily ritual. So I'm going to do a daily mastermind. And so, 1,200 episodes later, I found that it actually helps more than just me. So prepping for success, I love that. And then you moved into mastering the trader within. So and that just released this last month, right?
Yeah. Then to go back to the point what you just said, like the daily ritual of doing this podcast,
Yeah.
that is the key to start building any discipline in any life, is just to commit to any micro thing. Like, there's a popular thing online that people talk about, making your bed every day in the morning. So it's
Hmm.
not the act of making the bed that's getting you the success. It's the act of disciplining yourself enough to say, okay, you're starting the day with keeping your word, right? So you make your bed, those little micro commitments. So now you're starting the day and you're setting the foundation for the rest of the day. So I think that's kind of what you did with your mastermind as well. So if people can't take the big actions, they should start with something super small and just start the day that set the foundation correctly. But Mastering the trader within was
Hey,
from my
hang on to that
experience.
thought for a second because I want to make it. I'm glad that you doubled down on that because I think people, you're right, they hear these things and they think, oh, you're trying to be disciplined. You're trying to create commitment. You're trying to do this. It really isn't. Like they underestimate the value of the little commitments you make to yourself. It's not about because everybody can be, you brush your teeth every day. It doesn't make you disciplined, right? Like, having that little thing is so powerful that I'm really glad you made a point of
Mhm.
that. It's not the act itself, it's the fulfillment of the integrity you're making for yourself and committing to something. And it's structured. Like you said before, like this structured workout or structuring something gives you discipline, builds your confidence, keeps your commitments, and it all stacks up, right? It all stacks up over
Mhm.
time. That's why I like your title, Prepping for Success. It's stacking it up for you to be able to be successful.
Absolutely, because it's very easy to do things that we like doing. The true discipline muscle is built when you do something that you don't want to do or don't like doing. Like nobody loves to make their bed, but
Right.
eventually you do it enough and it becomes part of your habit. So I think it's like starting with micro things that you don't want to do, and then that's building your muscle. So I think, yeah, and mastering the trader within was more of a. I did seminars on this. I taught a lot of people on it. I had some hedge fund clients that I coach as well, kind of like the TV show Billions. So it's like to take all of that and distill it down so that it can help the average trader, retail trader, I think was my motivation behind it. And majority of my audience is traders and investors. So I think that was a book that could serve them on how they can take the principles from Prepping for Success, but then adding a lot of the elements that I use to coach, prop traders and different traders so that it could apply to retail traders. So that was my motivation behind it. Take all the seminar stuff that I'd done on psychology and try to compile a book out of it.
Yeah, for those of you that are listening and thinking we're going to get into a ton of trading stuff, we will talk a little bit about that. But I think it's this principle of success you've just got to understand. When you're around individuals that are successful at what they do, so like if you're around Anmol and the situational specific trading strategies are proven, you'll get that. But he knows that without the foundation, and you do it really well on your website, you talk about how people have to awaken and then evolve and then elevate to the next level. Your book patterns that as well, Prepping for Success and then Mastering the Trader. I think I really want people to understand that there's a reason that you spend so much time on these topics because the strategies themselves, of course, you've got to be around people that know the strategies and you'll be successful if you do what they tell you to do. The problem is if they don't do it, they don't get the success, right?
Absolutely, because the foundations of the stock market have been the exact same, like for several years. And a lot of the online education that you learn from trading, investing, it's all the same stuff. It's technical analysis, it's chart patterns, like all of that stuff. Like people spend a weekend, they can learn all of that stuff. But then why is it 90% of the people don't make it in this business or most traders end up losing? You go to Reddit, it's a graveyard of hopes and dreams, people losing a lot of money,
Yeah.
right? You go on X, read through people losing a lot of money. And I'm like, it's not the strategy because I can give you the exact strategy on paper, and if you just follow that, you're gonna make money. But even then, more than half the people will not make money, will not do it because of the again same emotions: greed, fear,
Yeah.
not wanting to pull the trigger on that trade, and they miss it, and then they watch it go, and now they take another one, get into another stock, and that's the one that's going down. They don't get out. Warren Buffett talks about buy and hold. Most people do buy and hope, and hope is
Yeah.
not a
Right.
strategy. So I think the statistical approach of trading is really important. But again, anybody can learn how to trade, but learning how to make money is a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, I love that. You're right. Fundamental technical analysis, charting tools, all this kind of stuff. And it's even getting easier and easier. If it were about that, everyone would be making millions of dollars in the stock market, in
Mm.
commodities and Forex and crypto. And right. So it really is about that mastering the inner game. Let's talk about investing for just a minute, because I do agree. I think when people that work with you now learn to invest at whatever level, what do you think helps them to be successful now on the, investor side? Is it those situational specific trading strategies? What do you focus on that helps people to be successful in the actual trading, strategies and tactics?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to set it up as a business. I think a lot of people treat trading like a hobby. They got a trading account, they're trying this, they're trying that. It's not really a business, right? So to have it trading be like a full-time thing, you can't really rely on just investing because, well, your bills are due monthly, right? So if you're trading for a living and you're just investing, investments play out in a long enough time frame. because you still have your mortgage due every month. You still have to pay your car payments every month. So we got to have in a business that produces monthly income. So to do that, we do like three different styles. One is day trading, right? That's kind of like a job. I do this every day. The goal is to make a monthly income. That's what I will use to live off and pay my bills. Then there comes swing trading, where we're going to hold on to stocks for maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months, maybe a few days, right? And that purpose of that style is just more to grow an account, not really to take withdrawals out of that. And then we call core trading, which is the same thing as investing, where I'm not really selling the stock. I plan on holding it for a long time. So then what we do is we set up buckets in a way that day trading is your income bucket, right? And then maybe 5 or 10% of that income bucket and 5 or 10% of the swing trading bucket feeds your long-term investments, so your dollar cost averaging, either markets or Tesla or, other things that you want to own. And so that way all three buckets are running together, right? This is paying your bills. This is growing your net worth and your account size. So we have to set it up in a business and set up structures that, how do you decide when to pay yourself? How do you decide when you're going to scale up trading and risk more money or buy more shares? So I think there's a different element of the business side of trading that is not really taught, which is kind of what I learned by trading for other companies, is the business side of trading, not just, okay, maybe I'll pay myself some money one day if the stock goes up. Then it's not a business, it's a hobby.
Yeah, and you make a great point, not just investing in life, is that most people dabble. They don't actually get serious and go deep into a topic. They just dabble. So I'm curious, do you recommend, for most people that are working with you, do you recommend all three of those kind of strategies at a certain percentage, or do you isolate really the goals, objectives, motivation of the investor and they go down whichever path they want? Is it usually like combined up, or do you try to push them down the path that best fits what they're looking for?
Yeah, so typically I get them to start with one style, right? So either day trading or swing trading, because investing is a non-negotiable. That's something that everybody has to be doing, because it doesn't cost you any extra work. It's just you're taking money out of your accounts and automatically reinvesting. So investing is like a non-negotiable that everybody should be doing, even if you have a job or have another business and trading is not what you want to do. Investing is a non-negotiable. Now with trading, I let them pick based on their personality style. Like if they're a little bit jittery, they're a little bit nervous, I'll say, okay, start with swing trading, right? Because day trading is more fast. If you're jittery on a regular trade, you're going to be jittery every moment to moment in a day trade. So personality styles come into play in that. But then also the skill level comes into place. I have a lot of older clients that I'm like, okay, you could do day trading, you could try it, but I think you'd be better off doing the swing trading, because the fast-paced emotional control is more of a game that you have to master yourself a little bit more than that. But I think, yeah, personality styles come into play, and then their schedule. Like I have a lot of traders who are still learning, they're still figuring it out, but they live on the West Coast. So for them, it's perfect. They can trade from 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock or something, and then go to their actual job that's paying their bills until they learn how to do this correctly.
Gotcha.
And then people on the East Coast, again, if you have a job or a business, keep that business, keep that job, do swing trading on the side, do investing on the side. If you're somebody who younger, like full-time, this is, I want to make my career, then I would start with day trading for them. So I think it really depends on the situation, how much money they have, how much time they want to commit to this, and do they actually enjoy the art of day trading? Because it's a different ballgame. It's a high octane sport, and one day you're going to be up a lot. Next day you might have a losing day. So you got to be comfortable.
Emotional roller coaster. Yeah.
You got to be disciplined in riding that roller coaster for sure.
Yeah. Well, I love your holistic approach, and maybe we'll have to find some time to do a follow up to this interview, because I love, and I think if you're listening to this and you're already an investor or you're thinking about doing more investing, I think Anwar made a good point. Is it's a non-negotiable. You need to be investing, but if you're going to do it, you can really stack the odds in your favor if you're not only learning the strategies, but you're around the right people. Hence the idea of a mastermind, and coach and mentor, but also you're mastering the inner game and the strategy. All these things will stack the odds in your favor. So I really like, the way you've set things up. So what's your big focus right now as we kind of close out our time together? What's your big focus kind of going into the coming years? Because you mentioned you're doing a move, you've got a bunch of things going on. What's your big, priority for moving forward?
I think personal priority is, making the move, slowing down the pace of life, getting maybe some more time to play golf, and like really enjoying kind of the life that I build rather than always be working all the time. But I think from a professional standpoint, there's a couple focuses. I think one of is the mastermind group. I envision that as a group of thousands of people around the world, different local chapters, have meetups, have retreats, have our own summits and conventions. That's like the long-term professional vision. of that area. And then at some point, there's going to be a fund involved. It's a hybrid of real estate and stocks, which I'm also dabbling on the idea of right now.
Awesome. No, I love it. I love it. Well, this has been really great insight. I think anytime that individuals, whether you're listening to this show or you're hearing this recording later on, when you can get around people that have success like you do on well and the mindset, I think it's important just to understand how people think. Successful people think a certain way. So I appreciate you spending time with us. Is there any kind of last thought or strategy or recommendation, advice you would give anyone looking to get started in investing or they're already investing? Any other final thoughts you kind of want to leave our audience?
Yeah, definitely. I would ask people to kind of take some time and sit with themselves and say, okay, where in my life have I said I'm going to do something that I haven't done yet? And start to notice that, because that's the foundation, right? To start noticing what is something I'm pushing off and start taking action on that, building that muscle, building the momentum. And I think that's when they'll start to see their life improve. So not moving from one podcast episode to another one. Okay, what did I learn here? What
Yeah.
can I apply into my life, right? I think a lot of people hoard information, but true knowledge is applied knowledge. Otherwise, it's just information. So I think that would be the thing. And I would love to give your listeners a free copy of my book. They can just go to go.unmol.net and can cover shipping, and wherever in the world they are, we'll ship it out to them. And I think that'll give them a really good insight into how to build that foundation for themselves so they too can prep for success.
I love it. No, I appreciate you doing that. And so the book that you wrote, Prepping for Success, I think that's something everybody ought to get their hands on. And I'll put, if you're listening to this, I'll put the links in the show notes so you've got them, and so you can go check this out and jump into it. But I really like what you're saying, because knowledge is not power, applied knowledge is power. And so if you're listening to this, you've had anything that's kind of inspired you and motivated you to do something different in your life, I encourage you to take action on it. So Anwar, thank you so much for spending time with us. I appreciate you being here. And for those of you that are listening, if this is your first time, make sure you subscribe. But either way, hit me up. Let me know what you're working on over at the Daily Mastermind on Facebook, Instagram. I say it all the time. If you're listening to this episode, just remember, it's never too late to start living the life that you are meant to live, but you do have to take some action. You gotta move forward. So thank you for listening. I look forward to talking with you more tomorrow.